A green dragon, small and stunted, lies dying in the dragon pit beneath King's Landing. Her wings are withered. She's never flown. She'll never fly. Nearby sit 5 eggs, stone hard, beautiful, lifeless. A young boy named Arlan watches from the shadows as maesters examine the eggs one final time, shaking their heads. The dragon exhales, smoke, not flame, and goes still. The year is 153 AC. The last dragon in Westeros has just died, and according to some, magic itself began to leave the world that very day. But here's what haunts me. When Ser Duncan the Tall walks into Ashford Meadow 56 years later, most people think dragons have been gone for centuries. Ancient history, the stuff of legend. They're wrong. The last dragon died within living memory, and the Targaryens spent the next 150 years desperately trying to bring them back, until Daenerys walked into fire and changed everything. This is the story of the day the world forgot how to dream, and the century-long nightmare that followed. Let's rewind to understand how we got here. Because the death of the last dragon in 153 AC, that's just the final gasp of a catastrophe that started decades earlier. The Dance of the Dragons ends in 131 AC, the civil war that tore House Targaryen apart. Brother against sister, dragon against dragon, the entire realm burning. When the smoke clears, only 4 dragons remain alive in all of Westeros. 4. The cannibal, wild, untamed, living somewhere in the mountains of Dragonstone, refusing all contact with humans. Sheepstealer, another wild dragon, last seen flying north with the dragon seed nettles, vanishing into the mountains of the moon. Silverwing, the great she-dragon who once carried Queen Alysanne, now refusing to cross the wall, living wild near the God's Eye. And Morning, a pale pink hatchling bonded to Lady Rhaena Targaryen, the youngest dragon to survive the war. That's it. That's all that's left of the greatest weapon dynasty in history. 4 dragons, 3 of them wild or semi-wild, 1 barely hatched. And here's the thing that breaks my heart. These dragons don't breed. They don't bond with new riders. They just exist, slowly fading into legend while the realm watches helplessly. By 136 AC, just 5 years after the dance ends, Morning is the last dragon in captivity. The only one still bonded to a Targaryen. The only proof that the age of dragons hasn't completely ended. But Morning never grows large. She never breeds. She's the last flicker of dragonfire in a world going dark. And then, even that light goes out. Sometime around 150 AC, a new dragon hatches in King's Landing. We don't know her name. That knowledge is lost to history, but we know what she looked like. Green scales, a she-dragon, pitifully small. The maesters examine her and realize immediately, something is wrong. Her wings are malformed, withered. She'll never achieve flight, never soar above the Red Keep like Balerion once did. Never be what a dragon is meant to be, but she's alive. She's a dragon. And for the Targaryens, desperately clinging to their identity as dragon lords without dragons, she's everything. They keep her in the dragon pit. They tend to her. They hope. In 152 AC, a boy named Arlan of Pennytree is brought to King's Landing. Years later, as an old knight, he'll tell his squire Duncan about what he saw that day. The last dragon, and 5 eggs beside her. The eggs were stone hard, beautiful, but dead. They'd never hatch. Arlan remembers those eggs for the rest of his life. He'll tell Dunk they were the most beautiful things he ever saw. But beauty without life is just decoration. In 153 AC, the green dragon dies. The maesters perform their examinations. Some whisper that King Aegon III, the Dragonbane, the broken king who watched his mother devoured by sunfire, poisoned her. The rumors claim he couldn't bear living with dragons anymore, couldn't endure the reminder of what they'd cost him. We don't know if that's true. Aegon III was traumatized, yes. He wore black for the rest of his life after the dance. He banned celebrations. He was a king drowning in grief. But did he murder the last dragon? Or did she simply die of the same malformations that crippled her from birth? History doesn't tell us. What we know is this: she died. The eggs remained stone, and magic began to leave the world. Old Arlan of Pennytree believed something changed the day the last dragon died. Summers grew shorter, winters grew longer and crueler. The world itself felt colder, harder, less magical. Was he right? Or was he just an old man romanticizing the past? Here's what we know for certain. The pyromancers of King's Landing noticed their spells weakening. Wildfire became harder to produce. The Alchemists' Guild, which had once wielded considerable power, found their ancient formulas failing. The maesters of the Citadel, who some whisper actively worked to eliminate dragons, declared the age of magic over. They were right. For 150 years they were right. And the Targaryens? They tried everything to bring dragons back. Aegon III, despite the rumors he killed the last one, sent for 9 mages from Essos to attempt to hatch dragon eggs using ancient sorcery. It failed. Successive kings tried prayer, tried blood sacrifice, tried placing eggs in fire, in ice, in the crypts of Dragonstone. Nothing worked. The eggs remained stone. Then came Aegon V, Aegon the Unlikely, Egg himself, the boy squire, who grew up hearing Ser Duncan's stories about the last dragon. Aegon V became obsessed. He gathered 7 dragon eggs. He consulted with pyromancers. He studied ancient Valyrian texts. And at Summerhall, during a great celebration, he attempted the ritual that would restore dragons to the world. Summerhall burned. Aegon V died. His son, Prince Duncan, died. Ser Duncan the Tall, the greatest knight who ever lived, died trying to save them. And the dragon eggs? Still stone. The tragedy of Summerhall proved one terrible truth. The Targaryens had forgotten the formula. The blood magic of old Valyria was lost. The rituals that bound dragon to rider for 5,000 years had died with the doom. The age of dragons was over. Cut to roughly 150 years after the last dragon's death. A Targaryen princess in exile stands before a funeral pyre in the Dothraki Sea. She has 3 stone-hard dragon eggs, gifts from Illyrio Mopatis, probably the same eggs that failed at Summerhall, or ones just like them. She has no maesters, no ancient texts, no pyromancers whispering formulas. All she has is instinct, grief, and a witch's words echoing in her mind. Only death may pay for life. Daenerys Targaryen places the eggs in Khal Drogo's funeral pyre. She adds Mirri Maz Dur, bound and screaming. She walks into the flames herself, and by dawn, she emerges with 3 living dragons, Drogon, Viserion, Rhaegal. For the first time in 153 years, dragons live and breathe. The world didn't believe it at first. How could they? Dragons were extinct. Everyone knew that. The maesters said so. History said so. But Daenerys proved them all wrong. She accidentally recreated the blood magic formula the Targaryens had lost. She succeeded where 9 Essosi mages failed, where Aegon V and all the resources of Summerhall failed. A teenage girl with no training did what kings and scholars couldn't. She brought dragons back from extinction. Here's what haunts me about this story. When young Arlan saw the last dragon in 152 AC, she'd been alive his entire childhood. She was real. Not legend, real. But by the time old Arlan told Dunk about her in 209 AC, most of Westeros had already forgotten. They thought dragons died centuries ago. Ancient history. 56 years, that's all it took for the world to forget the truth and replace it with myth. The last dragon died in 153 AC. Small, green, unable to fly. Her eggs forever stone. Aegon III may have poisoned her, or she may have simply been too broken to live. We'll never know. But we know what happened next. Summers shortened, winters lengthened, magic faded, and the Targaryens spent generations trying desperately to reverse what they'd lost. Until a girl with 3 stone eggs and nothing left to lose walked into fire and changed history. The last dragon of the old world died in darkness and silence. The first dragons of the new world were born in flames and screaming. And the difference between those 2 moments, between extinction and rebirth, was one Targaryen who refused to accept that the age of magic was over. Magic didn't die the day the last dragon died. It was just sleeping, waiting for someone brave enough or desperate enough to wake it up.